Being normal is the fastest way to become invisible, not just to other people, to yourself. Because when you spend your whole life trying to fit in, trying to be what you think people want, trying to smooth out every edge that might make someone uncomfortable, you don't actually exist anymore. You're just a reflection of what everyone else is doing, a copy of a copy. And copies don't build anything. They don't create anything. They don't get remembered. The people who actually stand out, the ones who get the opportunities, build the relationships, and end up doing something with their lives, they're the ones who are weird. Not weird in the shock value sense. Not weird to get attention. Just genuinely, unapologetically themselves. In a world where everyone else is desperately trying to be the same thing, that's weird. And that weirdness is the most valuable thing you have. Most people will never use it. They'll spend their entire lives keeping it locked away, and they'll wonder why nothing interesting ever happens to them. Here's what's actually going on. Your brain is wired to fit in, not as a personality trait, as a survival instinct that goes back thousands of years. Back when being kicked out of your group meant you were dead, so your brain developed this deep automatic drive to conform, to blend in, to not be too different, because different meant dangerous. That instinct is still running in the background of everything you do. It's the voice that tells you not to share that opinion, not to wear that thing, not to admit you're into something that seems uncool, not to be too much. Just blend in and you'll be safe. Except you're not gonna die if someone thinks you're weird. Nobody's gonna exile you from society because your interests don't match your friend group. But we act like that's what's gonna happen. We spend enormous amounts of mental energy managing how we come across, editing ourselves before we speak, choosing what to share and what to hide, based on what we think will get the best reaction. And the result is that everyone around you is doing the exact same thing. You're all performing. You're all wearing the same clothes, listening to the same music, having the same surface level conversations about the same topics. You're all invisible. You're all basically one person, and that person is boring. That person is forgettable. That person is exactly like the 10 other people in the room. That's what fitting in actually gets you. Before going further, let's be clear about what weird actually means, because a lot of people hear this and think it means being shocking, being deliberately different for attention, doing things specifically to make people uncomfortable. That's not weird. That's desperation. That's just a different kind of performance. Real weirdness is just being yourself. That's it. That's the whole thing. You like something that most people your age don't care about. That's weird. You have an opinion that goes against what your friend group believes. That's weird. You're passionate about something that seems niche or uncool. That's weird. You think differently about something that everyone else has already decided on. That's weird. And here's the thing. Everyone has something they're weird about. Everyone. Without exception. But most people hide it. They keep it buried because they're afraid of being judged. Afraid of being the odd one out. Afraid that if people see the real version of them, they'll like it less than the performance. So they keep performing. And they spend their whole life surrounded by people who are doing the same thing. And nobody actually knows anybody. And everyone is lonely in a room full of people. That's what hiding your weirdness actually costs you. Here's what happens when you choose to stay normal. When you choose to keep the real version of you locked away and just give people the version you think they want. First, you become forgettable. You blend in. Your friends might like you, but there's nothing distinct about you. Nothing that makes you memorable. In a year from now, will they remember specific things about you? Or will you just be another person they used to know? Most people fall into the second category, and they don't even realize it until years later when they look back and can't point to a single relationship that actually knew them. Second, and this one is more serious, the people in your life don't actually like you. They like the character you've created, and you can't build real connections on top of a character. You can maintain them. You can keep the performance going, but the moment you stop performing, the connection falls apart because there was nothing real underneath it. I've seen people with hundreds of friends who are completely miserable because not one of those friendships was built on who they actually are, just on who they pretended to be. Third, you miss every opportunity that was meant for you. Opportunities don't come to normal people. They come to people who are doing something different. People who are pursuing something nobody else is pursuing. People who have a perspective nobody else has. Every interesting thing that has ever gotten your attention came from someone who was being weird about something. Someone who was obsessively into something that nobody else cared about yet. And that weirdness became the thing you were drawn to. Normal people don't create opportunities. They follow the people who did. Look at every person who built something real. Every creator. Every entrepreneur. Every person who became known for something. The common thread isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't even hard work. It's that they were weird about something and they didn't apologize for it. Steve Wozniak was weird about computers when nobody else cared. The entire tech industry that runs your life right now exists because someone was deeply weird about something that seemed pointless at the time. Minecraft is literally a block game. It looks like nothing. It makes no sense on paper. and it became the most played game in history because it was completely different from everything else, because it let people be weird inside it, because the person who built it was weird enough to think that was a good idea in the first place. And YouTube itself, think about the creators you actually watch, the ones you keep coming back to, not the ones who do what everyone else does, the specific ones who have something distinct about them, a way of talking, a specific perspective, a sense of humor that feels like it was made specifically for you. You watch them because they're weird in the exact same way you're weird. And that connection, that feeling of being understood by someone who's just being themselves, that is the most powerful thing on the internet right now. Generic content gets views. Weird content builds audiences. There's a difference. And the difference is whether people actually care or whether they just happen to click. Here's the part that most people get wrong about all of this. They think the goal is to be confident, and they think confidence means not caring what anyone thinks. So they try to flip a switch. They try to force themselves to stop caring, and it doesn't work. And they give up and go back to performing. Real confidence isn't, I look so good that people should like me. That's insecurity dressed up as confidence. Real confidence is, I don't need you to like me. I'm doing this anyway. And that is genuinely magnetic. Not because it's cool, because it's rare. Everyone around you is so busy trying to be like that, when you see someone just being themselves, completely unbothered by whether it lands or not, you notice it immediately. It stands out because nobody else is doing it. That kind of confidence doesn't come from deciding to stop caring. It comes from doing things anyway while you still care. You share the weird opinion while your heart is racing. You admit the weird interest while part of you is cringing. You show the real version of yourself while fully aware that some people won't like it. And you do it anyway, and you survive. And then it's slightly easier the next time, and the time after that. And at some point you realize you were never actually in danger. You were just afraid of something that was never gonna hurt you. That's where real confidence comes from. Not from a mindset shift, from evidence, from doing the thing enough times to know you can handle whatever happens after. Here's where the real damage happens. It's not just that hiding your weirdness makes you forgettable and lonely. It's that it costs you the two things that actually matter, real relationships and real opportunities, at the same time. On the relationship side, the people who build real connections, the friendships that last, the relationships worth having, they're built on authenticity, on depth. People don't form real attachment to someone who's playing it safe. They attach to someone who's interesting, someone who has weird passions and specific perspectives and things they actually believe. Because you can find someone who's generic anywhere. Generic is everywhere. But someone who's genuinely themselves, who thinks differently, who cares about things in a way that's specific to them, that's rare. And rare things get remembered. On the opportunity side, the world is changing faster than it ever has. AI is replacing every generic function that humans used to perform. The jobs that survive, the roles that can't be automated, the positions that actually matter. They all require something that can't be replicated, a specific perspective, a unique way of thinking, an approach that's different from the default, and that only comes from people who have been weird enough, for long enough, to develop something nobody else has. The normal people, the ones who spend their whole lives blending in, they're the ones who are most replaceable. Not because they're less intelligent, because they never developed anything distinct. They optimize for fitting in when they should have been developing who they actually are. So what do you actually do? Because you can't just decide to stop caring what people think. That's not how it works. You can't flip a switch and suddenly be a different person. Start with one thing. Just one. Pick one thing you're weird about that you've been hiding. One interest you don't usually talk about. One opinion that doesn't match your friend group. One way you think about something that feels different from everyone around you. Just one thing, and then do it. Show it. Say it, without explaining yourself, without apologizing for it, without framing it as, this is probably weird, but just put it out there like it's normal. Because it is normal. It's just you. And here's what'll actually happen. Most people won't care as much as you think they will. That thing you've been terrified to share, the interest you thought would get you laughed at, most people will either not care or find it genuinely interesting because they're hiding their own weirdness too. And when you show them yours, it opens a door. Suddenly they can show theirs, and the conversation gets real, and you find out that everyone around you has something they've been keeping locked away, and you all stop performing at the same time. That's when friendships become real. Not when you find people who are exactly like you. When you find people who are willing to be exactly themselves around you. Start with people who actually matter to you. Not strangers. Not people you barely know. Your actual close friends. Show them something real. See what happens, and then do it again. By the 10th time, you won't even be thinking about it anymore. It's just who you are now. And before someone says this is the easiest concept in the world and everyone already knows this, you're right, everyone knows it. That's the point. Knowing you should be yourself and actually being yourself are two completely different things. Most people know this. Most people agree with it. Most people have heard some version of it 100 times. And most people are still performing, still hiding, still choosing the version of themselves that gets the least resistance over the version of themselves that's actually real. So yes, this isn't new information. The question is why, knowing this, so few people actually do it. And the answer is that knowing something doesn't change behavior. Evidence changes behavior. Doing it changes behavior. And most people never get to the doing part because they're still waiting for permission, waiting for someone to tell them it's okay, waiting for the right moment, waiting until they feel ready. Nobody's gonna give you permission. The right moment doesn't exist. You will never feel ready. You just have to do it. Here's where it ends up. Two kinds of people. The first kind spends their whole life performing, managing how they come across, hiding the real version of themselves behind a version they think is more acceptable. They have a lot of connections and very few relationships. They have a job that's fine and a life that's fine, and they can't point to a single thing that's specifically theirs, and they spend most of their time wondering why nothing feels meaningful. The second kind decided at some point to stop, to just be the thing they actually are, to share the weird interest without apology, to say the real opinion without softening it, to pursue the thing that other people think is a waste of time. And some people thought they were strange, and some opportunities didn't work out because they weren't the right fit, and none of that actually mattered. Because the things that did work out, the people who did connect, the opportunities that did come, they were real. They were built on something actual, and that's worth more than 100 connections built on nothing. The weird people are the ones who build real lives. The normal people are the ones who wonder why they didn't. So here's what I want you to do this week. One thing. Not a lifestyle change, not a complete reinvention, just one thing. Share an interest you've been hiding. Say the opinion you've been softening. Pursue the thing you've been embarrassed about. Show one person the real version of you and see what happens. Worst case, they don't care. Best case, you start building something real. And the version of you that comes out the other side of doing that enough times isn't just more interesting to other people. It's more interesting to yourself because you finally know who you actually are. Not the performance, not the version it fits in, the actual thing. That's what being weird gets you. Not attention, not shock value, not a brand, just a life that's actually yours. And in a world where everyone is desperately trying to be the same thing, that is the rarest and most valuable thing you can be.